I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it's time for week 3 of my Sufferathon, Seasonathon, September vlogs. I'm doing weekly vlogs because I'm co-hosting and participating in these readathons, and I'm also playing my TBR game as I go this month. So if you haven't seen the 2 previous videos, I will link it up here so you know what's going on, but let me give you a bit of an update as far as what I'm reading right now. I am listening to Thief of Sorrows by Kristen Long. This is the audiobook I'm listening to. It's also one of the courses I'm taking for Seasonathon Academy. It's also the group book for Seasonathon Academy. I'm at 40-something%, so I'm making steady progress in that one. I will definitely have it done before the author discussion at the end of the month. And then for Sufferathon, I need to be reading Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery all week. The only times I can read this are when I'm out in public or outside. You know, it has to be like not where I normally read, so not in a place of comfort. And I did read today. I read this in the classroom during the silent reading time that the students have, and I made it a whole whopping 10 pages. That's actually better than previous weeks. They were really quiet today, actually. They did really good with their silent reading. Typically, I read the same sentence over and over and over again, and I keep getting distracted by stuff and trying to remind them to be silent. It's silent reading time. So this was nice because I actually made a little bit of progress. Not enough to say anything about it yet, and not enough to give you any kind of an opinion, but just wanted you to know that I'm working on that. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to be at the school a lot longer because we have a curriculum evening with the parents and the families of the kids. I want to attend to that. I don't have to, but I want to just so I can see how that sort of thing works out. And I was thinking I might go out to dinner. I can read this then. I will read this during silent reading again. And I'm working in a public school, so maybe it counts even if I'm just there by myself. There will be other teachers there probably later in the evening, but like if I'm there mostly by myself, it's a public school, so it's in public. Does that count? Do I care? I'm a receptionist. I'm one of the hosts of this readathon. I can do whatever I want. Because otherwise I don't know how this book's gonna get read by the end of the week. And then finally, in my very first week's video, you'll see that I played my game, my TBR game, and I landed on a secret TBR book. So I'm currently reading The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, and I'm actually I finally picked it up for one, but I'm finally making some really good progress. So I'm 132 pages in. I don't know how much time I'll have to be able to read it this week, but I'm going to attempt to read it when I can. This is the only book I'm physically reading at the moment in the house, like at home. And so every night before I go to bed, I pick this up and I read it as much as I possibly can. So I will be reading this again tonight and hopefully make some more progress. I'm enjoying it for the most part so far. They have moved to this really isolated setting. He got this land from someone who was also a prisoner of war, the father, Ernst. There are certain people there that kind of feed into this father's like conspiracy theory feelings, all of the anger and frustration he has towards the government, these beliefs that horrible things are going to happen and they have to prepare themselves for nuclear war, and like all these horrible things. They believe it will turn to martial law at some point because the US is going to hell in a handbasket, basically, in their mind. The father, Ernst, also gets worse when the weather gets worse. And it's Alaska. We're going into the winter time. And where they live, it's dark, it's snowy, the weather gets really awful, it gets really windy, it gets bad. And so they're starting to see him get angry and frustrated. And so I'll be curious to see where it exactly goes, because it almost feels like the dad's setting them up for something, and I don't know what it is. You know, he's never, at this point, he's only been verbally abusive, meaning like yelling, not like calling people names and stuff, but just he yells a lot. He's never, as far as I can tell, done any actual physical abuse or anything, but it sort of sets it up for his anger is that bad, and they keep talking about how dangerous he seems. Like they love him, he's father/husband, they absolutely love him, but there is a certain level of danger to him that can be kind of scary sometimes, even though they adore him and just want to see him get better, just want to see him be happy and healthy again. He's never been healthy since Vietnam War, since he was a prisoner of war. But they also know that he's not helping himself. And the situation that they're in, although during the summertime, when there was sun all day long and they were working on their homestead, everything was going so beautifully. That can only last so long because he gets seasonal depression really badly. And there's never been a situation that has been good enough since he's come back from Vietnam. They're hoping that this will be their final home, but they haven't made it through winter yet. So we're just going into the winter now. And already, it doesn't sound like it's gonna be good. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I've got that to go. We'll see if they're prepared. They've been working really hard over the summer, but you know, they got kind of a late start and they don't know anything about Alaska. Like, they don't know what they're doing. So we'll see what happens. In other exciting news, my cousin's visiting, and you'll have seen her in the walk we did this afternoon because she wants to join us on our after work walks. Well, after my work walks. And it is very exciting. It's very exciting to have her visiting. I don't know how long she'll be here. She'll be here at least until October 2nd, and then she may be coming back. I'm not positive. She wants to join in on Spookathon in October. And so I'm going to be putting out a TBR video with our roles for Spookathon and the books that we choose. And that'll be a lot of fun because we're going to come up with our books together. We all have plans to read spooky books in October. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be really fun for our little family to be doing a readathon together at the same time. And I'll make sure that in October I'll have my cousin talk about her books a little bit, Mom talk about her books a little bit. So we'll give you a lot of reviews in October because they probably read, well, my mom definitely reads a lot more than me. Jordan probably reads a little faster than me too, just because at the moment she has a little bit more time. So I think that's the update for the moment. Hopefully my reading this week with these two go really well so that I don't have to take any punishments for Sufferathon and so that I can play my game again. I want to play at least, I'd like to make a few more spins with my own game, but I don't know because I chose a really big book. I chose a really big book for it. That was smart. Good morning. I'm getting ready to go to school. What is today? Tuesday. It's gonna be a long week. No, it's gonna be a good week. And I'm gonna be there all day long because there's a curriculum night this evening, and I decided I'm just gonna stay at the school and do some work and then read my book, Anne of Green Gables, because I'll be out in public as well as going to dinner or something like that. But I wanted to let you know that I worked on this quite a bit last night. I made it to 175 or something along those lines. And just a quick note, it does have domestic abuse. So kind of figured it was going to happen, and it's been happening apparently under the radar, and it is pretty brutal. So I just want to warn you that there is definitely domestic abuse in this. It's not something that is a trigger necessarily for me, but if it's a trigger for you, definitely be aware that that is, I mean, you kind of figured it was going to be what was happening, but, you know, confirmed.
One piece at a time. He fought against Malachi's impossible grip, but earned a punch in the gut instead.
Hello! It is Tuesday evening, and today has been, I've been finding that, you know, you'd think Mondays would be the hardest days for me, but I'm finding that Tuesdays are the days that I have like no energy. So I go in on Monday, the kids are restless and are having rough days on Monday, but I'm doing great. And then on Tuesdays, I'm like, ugh. That was true for last Tuesday and true for today. And then today was an extra long day because I actually stayed at the school until I left there at 7. And I didn't actually do anything for curriculum night, but I wanted to be able to see it and observe not only my CT, but then also the other 5th grade teacher, how they talk to the parents, what they tell them as far as curriculum goes. And it was great. I was glad that I did that. I went to get some food, but then I stayed at the school and worked on my own unit for math, which I'll be starting at the end of this month. So it's coming up. Well, yeah, I'll be starting in the beginning of October. It's coming up very soon, so I'm trying to prepare for that. And I continued trying to work through Anne of Green Gables. And this worked for Sufferathon because at one point I was reading and the cleaning lady came through the building and she was vacuuming. And it was hard to read. So I only read about 18 pages, but that's because I was trying to work more on my math unit and trying to figure all that stuff out because we're getting close to the end of the month. Like, it's going to be here before I know it, and then I'll be teaching that, as well as I have to start teaching an explorers unit. This is a social studies unit, and I haven't even started looking at that unit yet. So I'm like, ooh, Amy, running out of time is not the right word, but I'm getting closer and closer to the point when I'll be teaching full time. So I need to make sure I'm on top of things. We did have strings today though, and let me tell you, one thing I am struggling with, because we're doing it right now, we're still doing it like down here in guitar mode, is like I can get it on the first, the second. My ring finger does not like stretching that far. So we were doing the ladder. I did it, but my fingers don't want to stay there. It's really hard for them. So I have to get used to the positioning, finger positioning, because my fingers are, eventually, you know, I'll be like this. So that's not as bad. Wait. Not as bad. I go backwards. You're gonna suffer through this with me, just so you know. I am sure this is not nearly as exciting for you as it is for me, but it's very exciting for me. So I'm a little worried about this because this is my Sufferathon challenge and I have to get this done by the Saturday at 1. And that means I have to read this while I'm out and about. And yeah, you can see I've only made it 18 pages in. But we just met Anne, and it was a mistake. They didn't think they were going to be adopting a girl. They had asked to adopt a boy, and all of a sudden Anne's the one that shows up. The man who's adopting her, Mr. Cuthbert, he's intrigued by her because he typically is very uncomfortable with people in general. He seems like a very shy guy and he doesn't know what to do with women especially. I think he feels like he's being judged quite a bit when he's around women because he just doesn't know how to interact. And he is finding Anne to be charming, especially because she has no problem making conversation for herself and asking him questions, and if he kind of doesn't really have an answer for it, she's like, yeah, I understand. I don't know either. She's taken off the social pressure for him, and so he's really enjoying, at least in the beginning, he's really enjoying this conversation he's having with her on the way back. He's like, I'm not going to tell her that we didn't mean to adopt her and it was a mistake. I'll let my sister tell her that. It'll be interesting to see what happens once they get there because Anne is like, I'm just so excited to be adopted. This place is so beautiful. It's so much more than I ever imagined. And I'm so excited to be living at Green Gables. I could never wish for anything as amazing as this. So how can you tell a kid like that, oh, oops, we didn't mean to adopt you. We're going to take you back and change you for another. As far as Thief of Sorrows goes, my audiobook, I am 49% of the way through that, so I'm just about 50%. And thoughts, yeah, pacing is just slow on this one. I am enjoying a lot of aspects of it. It doesn't sugarcoat some of the things that happen in this, and that is tough. I feel like a lot of the scenes maybe last longer than they need to. A lot of the dialogue maybe lasts longer than it needs to because of all the things that are being added to it. However, I'm still enjoying myself. Like it's a good audiobook. I'm enjoying listening to it on the way to and from work. I haven't had a point where I'm like, oh, sometimes audiobooks just don't work for me. And so this one's been working. I've been enjoying turning it on, you know, while I'm driving and then turning it off and not losing my place. Because sometimes that happens with audiobooks I'm not enjoying, or I'm just too focused on other things, or I won't hear what I'm hearing. You know, like I won't process what I'm hearing. And so then I have to restart it. That's not happening with this one. So that's a good thing. Hello, it is Wednesday and I'm home from school work. I don't get paid for it, but I'm there every day at a school doing work. And we went and picked up my car. So what happened with it, because I showed you the belt, the alternator had died. And because of all the extra work that the belt was having to do, because the alternator wasn't working, it caused the belt to pull, and then the bolts broke on the tensioner and it fell off. So got a new alternator, got a new belt, got the tensioner fixed with the bolts and stuff because the bolts were torn off, so they had to like do all the stuff that you have to do stuff like that. And I don't have to worry about it because I have someone who fixes it for me. It was not an inexpensive problem, but it's a problem that was solved, and I got my car back today, and so that's great. Luckily, I've been able to use Mom's car up until today, And yeah, it just feels great to have my car back. So that's good news. Today was a great day with the kids, a great day at the school. They were just so well behaved today. Just in general, they had a lot more patience. They were more calm. So it was nice. Like, that's always fun and nice. And we had a great time. What do we do today? We always do stuff. Oh, Nana Pam, this woman who she's a grandma, and she would come and sing with our class last year. And it was wonderful. She just volunteers her time. She comes and sings some of the classes of people she knows for whatever reason. And so she came today, and we all got to sing with her, and that was a lot of fun. So that is always a treat. I always love when she comes to visit. So as far as my reading went today, I read maybe 2 pages of Anne of Green Gables. I'm really in trouble with that book. I'm about 59% of the way through with my audiobook, Thief of Sorrows, so I'm still making good progress on that one. You know, it's not quick progress, but it's daily progress. I feel good about that because that one I have to get done. And then I'm like almost 200 pages into The Great Alone. I did get to read it for a little bit last night, but not as much as I would have liked. So that's where I'm at. I'm currently editing because I'm behind on my editing big time. And since we already went and did the whole car exchange and stuff, I'm home for the night and I have some time to work on this and I have energy to work on it. So I'm going to be editing for as long as I can stand it tonight. I'll definitely be reading The Great Alone some more tonight. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Survival in a place where it's just a really difficult place to live because of the winters. The winters are so harsh. This particular place where they're living near Homer, Alaska, doesn't have a lot of infrastructure. So like if things are going wrong, you're depending on the people around you if you can make it to them. And there is a lot of conversation around domestic abuse. I keep warning this about the trigger warnings for this, but it's getting progressively worse as far as like what's happening. So I just don't want anybody going into this and being surprised by that, being blindsided, because it's not a small thing. It's a big thing. I feel like I haven't had anything exciting to share with you this week that much. I did drop a bomb on the Sufferathon server this morning. This week is all about games rooms. So I said, would you like to play a game? And I actually made everyone randomly generate one of the books off their shelves. And whatever book they generated, they had to turn to the back cover, well, before the acknowledgements, and look to see if the page number, the last page number, was even or odd. If it was even, they were safe. If it was odd, they had to read a short story of their choice. And I gave a suggestion, and one of our other receptionists gave a couple of suggestions. And unfortunately, a lot of people got even number books. So that was a bummer because I wanted to see more suffering happen. But it was fun to throw a game at them. I got to think up some other clever game ideas of different things they have to do, and if they get one option, they get one thing, or, you know, like I'm gonna think up some other ideas that are kind of game-ish, a little more complex, a little more fun than just giving them a punishment, you know, making some odds there or something like that. So that was a lot of fun, and I will keep thinking up ideas so I can throw a couple more curveballs their way. Okay, so I'm in bed because I'm tired and it's only 8 p.m., but that seems to be a pretty common thing that's been happening lately, is just getting tired really early. I will say one thing that I've noticed since I've been back in the classroom with the students and in the classroom every day, all day long with the students, is that my stamina for editing is not there. So typically, in the past at least, I could sit and edit for long periods of time. And if you know anything about editing, especially editing vlogs, it takes a long time. And vlogs especially, depending on the level of detail you go to when you edit, or I'm a hyper editor. So like, for me, it takes me a lot longer to edit vlogs because I put a lot of time into them. So lately, because I've only been able to last like an hour an evening, I'm not getting videos out, which we already know that I'm not getting videos out, and I've already said that that's okay. But I was trying to figure out why it's so hard for me lately, because reading hasn't been that hard. I've been doing pretty well with my reading, and it really has a lot to do with the fact that in the evenings, I just don't have the energy to edit. And I think that's just because my brain is tired, and I just want to be doing other stuff. But I have been spending a lot of time on Discord lately because of Sufferathon. Sufferathon especially, there's just a lot happening, which is so much fun. But it does take a lot of time because I'm on Discord a lot right now. My die is about to open, and it's gonna be purple. It's gonna be pretty. Hey, it's Thursday, and it's in the evening. I'm already on my way to bed. Well, at least I'm in bed, and I'm planning on reading for a little bit before I go to sleep. I haven't been great about updating this week because there's just not much to share, at least during the weekdays. I don't have a lot of B-roll. There's just not much going on. I mean, there's stuff going on, but I can't necessarily film it. So it was a half day with the kids, and that was great. All afternoon I was planning while I was still at school, and that was fantastic because I felt like I got ahead on some of the things I wanted to get ahead on, because I'm coming up to the point where I'm going to have to start teaching more, bigger lessons, and then full-time towards the middle to the end of October. And that meaning, like, I'm doing all the teaching and my CT has to take a step back and not teach for, like, I think I have 3 weeks that I have to be teaching completely the whole time. I'm getting close to that, so I just want to make sure I'm on top of things. Then I took Cece and my cousin for a walk, and that was great. Just, I didn't take any B-roll of that because I've been taking a lot of B-roll of that particular trail lately. It's the same trail that we've been walking. So that was really nice, though, and I spent time chatting with her, and then I went to drop her off at my aunt's house, and then I talked to my aunt for a long time. And then I came home and I wanted to edit, but instead I watched a couple episodes of Stranger Things, and I'm having a lot of fun watching that. Mom and I are watching it, and we're both like, this is scarier than we thought it was gonna be. Like, it's pretty creepy. And it's exciting, and it's great. It's fun. So that's kind of how things are going. Not getting much accomplished. And then tomorrow, I'm not going to the school at all. They're having a purple day, which means that it's all professional development. And since I'm technically not in school yet, my CT was like, you just take this day off. So I'm going to take advantage of that because I have a lot of things that I want to do tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day. So hopefully I will actually get some B-roll for you of tomorrow, and then Saturday and Sunday. I'll probably have a lot more going on this weekend. Because I think Sufferathon shouldn't only be done through books and through Discord, I made sure we suffered today. Let's see how that looks. How are you suffering? How are you suffering? Little drama queen.
Family.
All of our little drama queens. Pure joy.
Look at this. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh.
Yikes. I almost gave up. You're having way too much fun. Okay, so we had a blast, as you could tell, at Spin this morning. And then I came home and I edited, and I got my week 2 vlog done for Sufferathon, Seasonathon, my weekly vlogs that I'm doing. And then I had to go to Target to pick up some printer ink, some color printer ink, so that I could print out, hold on, my Spoopathon game board. And then my cousin Jordan came over, and the 3 of us, Mom, Jordan, and I, we did our rolls and we picked our books for Swoopathon in October. So I'm very excited about that. We haven't yet filmed like talking about the books and stuff like that, but we wanted to get like the rolls and the picking and all that stuff done today, and then we'll work on the rest of it this weekend. And then I went to physical therapy, and I hurt. It was good, but I hurt. And now I am gonna read. I'm gonna read. Oh, that's right. I gotta tell you what exciting news I have. Stupid news I have. So I'm definitely going to take a punishment next week for Sufferathon because I left my Anna Green Gables book at school in my desk. And I can't read it out in public or outside if I don't have it. I know I could probably get an audiobook, but realistically, I just don't have time to read it anyways because the next drop will be tomorrow at 1. So I'm just accepting defeat. I had to get a punishment at least once during this month so that I could really enjoy the whole experience of Sufferathon, right? Right? That's what I'm telling myself. So yeah, not my brightest moment. I was looking for my book so I could take it with me to my doctor appointment, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I realized that's because I left it at work. I'm just gonna keep working on the grade alone because it's a giant book. I'm about halfway through-ish, and I do want to get that done so I can try and roll again before the weekend is over. I'd like to do my TBR game, at least roll one more book before this month is over. And so that's my exciting news. Definitely gonna take a punishment. I feel like it's probably well-deserved, especially because I've been causing so much suffering in the Discord. I've been having so much fun.
Look at him go. Look at your brother go.
All right, you can do it.
Your brother can do it, you can do it.
All right, along.
He's like, my brother can do things I don't need to do. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Come play with me. Come play with me. Now you want to look at him.
Hello, it's Saturday morning, and it's been a wonderful morning so far. Picked up my cousin Jordan, and we went to support my other cousin Jenny, who was preparing for an obstacle show with her horse. He's a, well, new-ish horse. She bought him a few years ago, but he was really young, so he's now finally getting old enough to be a little more rideable, and he's been worked with to be a little more rideable, and so she's been working with him doing different things like this, and so they were learning how to do the actual obstacle course for the show that's getting rescheduled because we're gonna have a whole bunch of rain. So it was fun to go watch. I haven't seen her actually ride before. I've seen her with horses before because she's been a horse person ever since she was a child, but I've never seen her actually ride. So it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. And then we came back here, had lunch, and it was time for the prop drop for week 4 of Sufferathon Hotel. And that was exciting because we're getting to the end. It was a little bittersweet though because I have to take a punishment this week, so we'll go over my punishment in a second. But I wanted to tell you the prompts for this week. The first prompt is to read a book that has made people see red, in the sense that either they've given it a scathing review, they did a rant review of it, they hated it, somebody you know hated it, or it's a book that's been banned or has a lot of people with differing opinions about the book. And for that, I'm going to go with Survive the Night by Riley Sager because I feel like within the last couple of years, of all the books that was incredibly highly anticipated and then got so many scathing, people being so angry at it for reasons I don't know because I don't like to be spoiled on books, but I know that a lot of people could not stand the way this was handled, and there were a lot of rant reviews about this book. So I've loved everything I've read by Riley Sager so far, so I'm excited to see what I think about it and if my opinion differs, because I do know a few people who did like this, but a lot of people just had really, it made them angry. It made them angry, and so I figured that works really well, and I do want to try and read all of Riley Sager's books because I've had such good experience with them in the past, and so I think this is a perfect prompt for this one. The second part of the challenge is to clean up after yourself, clean up your trash. And to do that, I have to unhaul any books that I plan on unhauling. Like, they have to be out of the house, out of the car. They can't be in your possession anymore. And I do have a bag of books. I tried selling them at a local bookstore and some of them didn't sell. And I want to try selling them at another bookstore because some of them are brand new. Like, they're good books. It's just that that bookstore didn't need them. And we'll see if that works. If not, then I'll put them in a little free library or something along those lines. And then we do have a bag of books, quite a few books in the trunks of our car. I'm not gonna unhaul all of them. We do have a lot right now, so I'll definitely unhaul some of them, but we keep those in the car because we try to at least keep a few books in my car, a few books in Mom's car, so that when we go to a Little Free Library, we always have a book on hand to swap. I'll be honest, I'm not gonna unhaul every single book I wanted to unhaul, and I'm not gonna take a punishment for that because I'm a receptionist and I said so. And because I have a reason behind it. Like, it's not like I'm just twiddling my thumbs and not unhauling because I'm too lazy about it. It's because we have a reason why we keep a few unhaul books in each of our cars. But I will try to get rid of the majority of them because there are a lot in my car right now. I think that's fair. Oh, and I have a bunch. Oof, this is going to be the harder part. I have a bunch of old textbooks that I will not be using that I'd like to sell. So I don't know if I'll be able to get them all out this week, but I will at least be able to list them or do something with them. I will do something with this huge stack, it's like this big, of textbooks that I have sitting right next to me that I need to get rid of. So that's my cleaning up my mess. And I feel like that's good enough. It's good enough. So I also need to do a punishment though, because I left my book at school and I didn't get time to read hardly any of Anne of Green Gables. So like that was a big fail. I did watch Ren's video with all their punishments, and there were a few on there that I did not like because some people have been just rolling a d10 and choosing from the 10 punishments there. I don't want to, so I'm not going to. And so I did pick 6 of them that I think will work best for me. So the ones that I eliminated, and if you're curious, I will link the document down below, are number 2, the Broken Pool Cue, because that's to find the longest book on your TBR and only read half the book. Now, I don't mind only reading half a book and putting it down and reading the other half later. Like, that's not a problem for me. But the longest book on my shelf is going to be over 1,000 pages. So I'm not going to do that in a week. I'm just not going to read 500 pages of a book in a week. Especially, yeah, no, it's just not, with other books that I have to read, it's not going to happen. The next one that I eliminated that I think is incredibly cruel, great job, Ren, is number 4, Monopoly. Find your 5 most anticipated reads and get a family member to pick one to unhaul. Yikes. No. Anticipated reads? No way. That was awful. And I know that it was a homage to Paige telling Ren to unhaul some of their anticipated books. Yeah, that was terrible. The next one I'm not going to do is Sticky Game Controller. Borrow a smutty book from someone else and read it in front of someone. I'm not gonna, I mean, I love smutty books, but I just don't need to borrow somebody else's right now and then read it in front of someone. Just not gonna do that. And number 6, I'm not gonna do, which is adjusting the TV antenna, unhaul 2 books that have been adapted. I am not a big unhauler, in case you didn't know. I mean, I'm sure you know. I at least like to try it. That's why I came up with my try chapter in a coffee, because I figure at least I'm trying it before getting rid of it. But I like to read the books on my shelves. So I don't do a lot of unhauling. And so that's a harder thing for me to do. Okay, so that leaves me with 6 possible punishments, number 1, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I will be rolling a d6 die between 1 and 6, and then whatever I get will be the punishment I have to figure out how to make work this week. Okay, here we go. 5. 5 is number 9. So number 9 is Arcade Game Stole Your Money. And that is to pick 2 of your most recent purchases, flip a coin to choose which book to read. If it's heads, it's the longest of the 2 books. If it's tails, it's the shorter of the 2 books. And I've got to figure out my 2 most recent purchases. I've hauled books recently, but they weren't purchases. So I've got to think about that one. Okay, so this is a little tricky. So the most recent purchase I've made, actual purchase I made, was Dragon Wake by Anya Seton. And this is one of my Book Club is Blind books. Spoiler alert. If you haven't checked out that series, I will link it up here. I'm not doing a very good job of not sharing the results in these videos because I'm trying to read these books. I don't know if I want to try and rush through this one in a week though. It's 400 pages or so, but the writing is not too small, so it's a possibility. I do need to vlog this whole book, reading this whole book for my Book Club is Blind series, so that's a possibility. But that is the most recent. This is the actual most recent purchase I made. The other one, which would work better, is actually a book I already talked about in my week 1 vlog, and that is Class Act by Jerry Craft. It's a graphic novel, and it's the second in a series. So that's at school in my desk. Or did I bring it back with me? I may have brought it back home, I don't remember. I had bought 3 books when I was in Ohio, when I was visiting my friend Teresa, and I bought the second book, Class Act, and the third book, I can't remember what it is, but the third book in that series, so I would want to read the second book first. And then I also bought another book, but it was a book I've already read before, so it was just like sometimes when I read books and I really want a copy, I will buy a copy later on. And so technically what would work is Class Act. So I'm picking that as the other book, and this one obviously is much longer than the graphic novel. So if it's heads, it'll be this book. If it's tails, it'll be Class Act. So it'll say Smooth Sailing if it is heads, and it'll say Rough Seas, which it's actually not Rough Seas if I get tails, because it'll be Class Act, which is a much shorter book. So let's hope for Rough Seas in this case. Not that I don't want to read Dragonwyck. I do. I absolutely do. It's incredibly highly anticipated. It's just that I have to read this book this week and get it done by the end of this week. So, all right. You ready for this? Can we see it? Can we see it? It says Rough Seas! Yeah!
Sort of good.
I'm reading Class Act this week. Okay, I also want to give you an update on my current reading, and that is that I haven't done anything with Anne of Green Gables, obviously, and I have made quite a bit of progress in The Great Alone, so I'm getting far along in this one, and I spent a lot of time reading it last night. I'm currently on page 364, and shit has really hit the fan. That's all I can say, because it's getting pretty wild. There's stuff happening. There's been stuff happening along the way, and it's been a very frustrating and angering story, because you just are scared to find out what's going to happen next, because you just see things getting worse and worse, and they are getting worse and worse, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So it's almost like I don't want to see it. I don't want to read it. I don't one of those I got to keep reading, but no, I can't read it. I can't read it. I can't take it. It's been that. And so we're at a point right now where I'm like, what the heck just happened? How is this a thing now? Because it's a very different kind of danger at this point. And I'm getting close. So I want to get this done, because before this vlog is up, week 3 vlog, I want to play my game one more time at least and pick another book, so that I'm at least rolling my game twice this month. But I also now need to read Survive the Night and Class Act. Class Act won't be hard for me to get done. That's a graphic novel. So I'm very excited about how that turned out. And then do all my unhauling stuff, which now that I remembered I have all these textbooks, that's a little... Okay, you ready for some magic? Stunning, right? My finger work is terrible. My hands do not want to do this. They don't want to bend like this. They don't like it. Okay, here's my other song. You ready for this one? Y'all are so lucky for this amazing performance. Okay. Oh, wait. That was too fast. Slow down, Amy. Okay. Okay, so I did it. I finished The Great Alone, all 530 something pages of it, and I can't tell you anything about it because this is for another video. But I did it, and so that works out. I think I can make it work for Seasonathon. I decided to change this to be my English 1020 new to you author book because I'm going to move Thief of Sorrows down into a different category. So this is going to work for one of my Seasonathon Academy classes. So now I've finished 3 classes. I've finished 3 of my 5 classes for Seasonathon Academy. So that's fantastic. Very excited about that. This was also my TBR game book because I had spun a 10 and got a secret TBR book. So that means that even though there's not very many days left in this month, there's like a week. There's a week. I'm going to spin the wheel again and see what I get and hopefully be able to read at least one more book for my TBR game. Okay, so when I spun the last time, I did move 10 spaces and I ended up right here. So I'm going to spin and see where I'm going now. No! No, I don't want that. So I'm going to spin again because screw that. This is my game, my rules. I can do whatever I want. I didn't want to do another secret TBR book. 4, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, oldest published on TBR. Oh, I don't really want that one either. Well, it is surrounded by orange, which means that it goes by the color based off this. So that is regular red color. So regular red is adult horror thriller mystery. So the oldest published adult horror thriller mystery on my TBR. That might be interesting. Let's see what it is. Okay, so I know I cheated, but I didn't want to do another secret TBR book because I don't want to start another secret TBR yet. I am going to be able to work on one now that I have finished the final book for it, so that's good. I am not ready to start another one, so I wanted to do something different. I wanted a better prompt, so this one's an interesting one. I was kind of hoping I would get a prompt that would work with books that I already have to read. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Goodreads and I'm going to record my screen. I start doing that now. I have 2 sections. I have adult horror and I have adult thriller mystery. And so I'm going to look at those sections, sort them by date published, and we'll see what has the oldest date. Now, I have a bit of a conundrum here because on my game, I separate classics from all the other genres or types of books because I have a separate category for classics and I have a separate category for adult horror thriller mystery. So I think because I'm trying to stay as true to my game as possible, I'm going to not include classics, even if they're horror thriller mystery, because I tend to classify all books in that type. I know it's not a genre, but it's a type of book. It makes sense to me, so that's all that matters, right? Okay, so if we go by date published, some of these have unknown, which is a little annoying. Dracula says date unknown. The Italian, I put that under classics. Classics. H.P. Lovecraft, I also consider classics, so I'm not going to count that. Oh, and I want it to be ones that I own. So let's see if I can look at the ones that I own. So I'm not counting these ones because I'm considering those classics. I own that. Christine by Stephen King. Let's go look at thriller mystery first to see if anything's older than 1983 because that's where Christine is at. Where is it? Classic. I'd consider that classic. Like, when do I stop considering things classic? You know, I might just read Failsafe because that was 1962, so definitely older than the Stephen King. Well, it is a classic too. I don't know. This is too tricky. It's hard on me. I've had Failsafe on multiple TBRs, including my Halloween TBR last year, and it didn't happen. So maybe it's just time to read it. Really cool 1963 cover, and it has sprayed edges. So I think I will read this one. I think this is what I'm going to read. It's not very long either. It's 280 something pages. So that's a good choice. And it's an old mystery thriller. Maybe not the oldest published because I'm not counting classics, but I think that this works for the purposes of what I want it to work for this particular prompt. I was thinking about this, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my choice of picking up this book, because this might seem different than something that I would normally pick up. Granted, I tend to read pretty broadly, but this is not something that I would probably be drawn to unless I had a specific reason. So I kind of wanted to explain that reason a little bit. I took a course in college, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was this history course. The focus was on media and how different parts of history were represented in various forms of media, and not just like news media, but like books, movies, art, dance, even different aspects of media and a variety of media that represented or were influenced by parts of history that were significant. So during the Cold War era, we were getting a lot of books like this, apocalyptic type books, where the fears of the people are being expressed in very real ways. You know, this is about nuclear war. And so that's a very on-the-nose example of how entertainment media used this time period, this piece of history, to create a work like this. But also, during the time of the Cold War, tons of sci-fi was being developed, and the aliens were being represented as communists. And so a lot of times when you read these much older sci-fi stories that were written during the Cold War era, you see parallels between the behavior of the aliens coming to Earth and what Americans believed communists to be at the time. So like, this course was fascinating. I loved it. It wasn't just about the Cold War. It was about many different parts of history and how that was reflected in pop culture, in art, in everything that we consume as media. One of my assignments was watching Failsafe and then doing a big old project on it. And so I loved Failsafe so much. The movie was so fascinating, so thrilling and frightening, but was a great way to look at the fears that people had at the time. Fears of communism, fears of nuclear war, but then also fears of technology and the errors that can be made when we trust too heavily in something we don't completely understand. And it was also fascinating to see the conversations surrounding philosophy of war and different strategical ideas that would come about, because you have these military minds, but also professors who speak in theory, are talking about the probabilities and possibilities of what would happen in a war situation, but then they end up being faced with an actual situation that they're saying is basically impossible. At least one of the professors, this guy who's totally full of himself, is saying it's absolutely impossible that this could happen. And then sure enough, it happens in this story. So it was an interesting and maybe insidious, but interesting way that people at the time were creating media to draw on the fears, but also the fascination. So like, alongside the fear of nuclear war, there was a huge fascination of nuclear war. Alongside the fear of technology, there was, of course, a lot of excitement about the innovation of technology. So even though at the time people were frightened by these components that were in this story, they were also very fascinated by it. It then also created a record throughout pop culture that shows a lot about the history of what we were going through at that time and the tensions that were going throughout every common person's mind, because you saw what they were drawn to. Like, you see what kind of things they were interested in, they wanted to read, they wanted to consume through their media, because it affected them so much. And I just find that aspect of history to be fascinating. That class was so interesting, and I ended up loving the movie Failsafe a lot. Great actors, very interesting look at people's fears during the Cold War era. And so I wanted to read the book. That's what I'm doing, and it is so much like the movie that if you don't want to read a book about military apocalyptic events, you could watch the movie and get exactly what I've been getting from this book, because I feel like the movie did a fantastic job evoking what this book is. And in the beginning, it starts with quite a bit of technical jargon and stuff like that. But once you get past that, it really does evoke so much tension. The tension building in this story is incredible, which is part of the reason why I loved the movie so much. It feels like I'm just watching the movie. Morning. It's Monday, and I just realized that I never signed off yesterday or give you a final update or anything like that. And so I can't start the new vlog until I finish this vlog. As you saw, I finished The Great Alone, and then I picked up Survive the Night, and my goal is to read 46 or something pages of that day so that I get that done before Saturday. So I read 50 pages, and so far, I don't know if I just read too much yesterday. I read a lot yesterday, and that was good, but also I don't know if I was just not as pulled into Survive the Night at the beginning of it at least, or it was just feeling kind of dull, or if I just had read too much and should have put books down and taken a break from them. And then I started reading Failsafe, and I'm 35 pages into this. So yeah, I made a bit of a dent, and it feels, at least so far, it feels very much like the movie, which is good because I love the movie so much. I'm hoping that this next week goes smoothly. I'm awake, ready to go to work. Let me know, this is hard for me to do first thing in the morning. Let me know what you read this week, what you loved this week. How are your readathons going? Are you participating in Seasonathon or Sufferathon? And if so, how's that going for you? And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens next week, the final week of the month. Will I finish my challenge books? Will I get what I want to get accomplished this month? Will I be able to play my game one more time? I don't think this book's going to take me too long to read because it's a nice little short book. But of course, as we've seen, in the week time, I don't get as much read. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.